I'm not gonna put that on Marissa or anybody. I think that's been you. Like I've seen like your growth as a player in terms of like the setups, and it's one of those things where like somebody will post like the tech from Twitter or something, and then like I'll see it in your gameplay like the next time I play you. So I'll be real interested to see like how if you play a better character and how that turns out.
Oh, thank you. That's really cool to hear.
Yeah.
How about you, Mike? Are you sticking with Jury, or is the honeymoon period over? Like, how are you feeling about her?
I play fighting games to be competitive, and if they make it to where Jury isn't competitive, then I won't play her. I'm not like I've never played the same character.
I was gonna say Mike's not a character loyalist. He's like I want to win.
Like winning is fun. Gabe said it best. It's fun winning.
Hello, and welcome to the Absolute Guard podcast. Oh, I was supposed to read something. I wasn't ready. Maybe we'll just leave this part in. What is it? We're examining the past and present of the fighting game. We're a competitive fighting game community podcast examining history and current events from the lens of the Arizona grassroots scene.
You nailed it.
This is episode 70. My name is Benny. As always, I'm joined by my co-host John, who is always in various degrees of readiness. Yeah, I was gonna say degrees of readiness when it comes to start the show. Today's one of those other days. But we move on. We move forward.
I think this is the time to money match John on stream.
Yeah,
he's not ready.
Yeah. I'm not anti-airing shit right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. So today, this is the first time we've had a 4-person panel, counting all of us together. We're joined today by TheXButton and also by Thrasher. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Good. Yeah. So it's been a while since we've had a 4-person panel. I can't even remember the last one we did. It had to be a few months. It's been kind of wild.
Yeah. It's tough to get 4 people on at the same time. We've as some behind the scenes stuff, like this roster for this show has changed 3 or 4 different times in the past 24 hours. And because of that, I think our agenda for today is a little looser.
Yeah, we don't really have like an overarching kind of theme or anything like that I could think of. I mean, it's just like kind of just shooting the breeze. I mean, yep. So what came out today in terms of Street Fighter?
I was just made aware of the Ed trailer right before we started taping the show, and so I think the 4 of us have watched it by now. I literally just watched it, so my recollection is very fresh, and impressions are also very reactionary.
Yeah. So what were your impressions?
So seeing Ed was pretty interesting. They seem to be catering to, like, what immediately went to my mind was like, what demographic are they catering to for Ed, right? Because Ed in general as a character, I think that he was billed as the beginner character in Street Fighter V. He fits a lot of the same kind of mold of like a future protagonist, but for some reason in 5 he was not very well received out of the gates, and then Luke ended up basically taking his place in my mind as the future potential protagonist. So that leaves Ed in this kind of this weird anti-hero role, and they seem to be really playing into that in the trailer that we saw.
Yeah. So what about you, Maynard? What do you think?
I mean, I didn't get to play 5. I heard about his beginnerness, and that's kind of what Modern's taken up now. So I'm really curious. I wish there was more. It is a teaser trailer, so we just got to see a little bit of story. I am happy to see actual combat as compared to Aki's trailer, where Aki just poisons you and talks crazy. But I mean, as a character design, he looks cool. I want to see more. But I guess we're gonna have to wait. I'm glad that we got a date though. That's the big thing I'm happy about.
I mean, we have a window. We have February, so we got that at least.
Yes, a window.
Yeah. What about you, Mike? What do you think?
I thought it was a completely hilarious trailer. I did notice that it looks like he's getting his, V-Trigger 2 tentacles back to pull you in. But the whole box thing, I was just like, why are these Like people have bots on their head. And why
Oh,
the hell?
that's part of the world tour mode.
Yeah,
like
it's the
world
those are
tour
the bad
thing.
guys. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense because I have played 0 minutes of World Tour, so I was just like, why are there boxes on their head?
My thinking around that is that they wanted to have an enemy, but they didn't want to like you can avoid having to like code a race essentially or like a gender or even like they're just
Yeah.
nameless faceless mooks basically, so you don't
Yeah.
have to risk targeting only black people like Resident Evil 5 did.
Yeah.
Remember that
Oh,
controversy
yeah.
all those years ago?
I mean, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, that's kind of true, right? It's like the foot soldiers in Ninja Turtles or like the Putty Patrol and like Power Rangers, something like that, right? They're just
Yeah.
generic enemies,
And-
right? There's no specific thing to them.
And honestly, I'm wondering, this is probably going to happen later when we get an actual gameplay trailer. But I remember one of the big things about the Aki trailer when it first came out was, oh, we got an anti-JP. Because all she did was beat up JP in the trailer. And it was nothing close to that when we got the actual release. So, it's...
Yeah, so
I
for
don't
me,
know.
I was gonna say I was a little disappointed just because like I did play Ed towards the end of Street Fighter V. Like there was kind of a gap after, I think after a few years when I stopped playing, and then John was playing, and then I was like, you know what, I'll play, and I didn't want to play Honda, so I picked up Ed, and I had fun with him. And like I know a lot of people think of like modern controls when they think of him because he did have like easy inputs, like his specials were literally like 2 buttons, but like I mean, the way that modern controls have been implemented in 6, like I don't feel like he's really kind of a representative of that because of the way that you have to like hold that assist button to do combos in 6. Like if they keep him the way that he was with some of his specials, like I would honestly prefer that than to kind of have the modern style that 6 has. Because I'm not a huge fan of that. Like it goes against like everything that I've learned, since I've been playing fighting games. At least with like his 5 iteration, it was like, oh, you want to do up kicks? It was 2 kicks, right? Or it was like, oh, you want to do DP? It's just like, let me tap these 2 buttons. Whereas, yeah, in modern controls, it's like hold assist and then you got to press whatever button, and like I can't do it.
But, so you're saying that Street Fighter V Ed was more intuitive than Street Fighter 6 modern controls for you?
Yes. Like
Wow.
I've tried like I've even tried like different characters to see like to kind of get your mind out of it, right? Because like I tried playing Ryu at first and I was just like, okay, yeah, I have a whatever, basically like reactionary supers and DPs, but then it's just like I'm so accustomed to like low forward fireball, and like you have to do that a different way. Like your hands, like my hands don't work that way. Like I can't do it.
Is it like muscle memory or like?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's like I've been playing, since Street Fighter 2, so it's just like, granted, not really Ryu, but it's just like from the 4 days and stuff like that. Like that's just ingrained in my mind. Like this is how I play Ryu: walk up and like low forward fireball. And for me to have to do like walk up, low forward, and hold assist or hold this button and then press a different button, and I'm just like, I can't wrap my mind around it. Like my hands are like, nah, bro, like you can't do this.
Benny saying Street Fighter 5 Ed was easier than modern controls in 6.
I mean, yeah, I honestly would say he was. Like for me, I mean, I guess for people that are like, if you started with 6 and you got used to modern controls, maybe I wonder how those people would feel if they played Street Fighter 5 Ed, if they gave him moves like that. So I guess that's to be seen, really.
Yeah, I wonder if he's even gonna have those same inputs, so the 2-button inputs, or will that be taken over by modern and he'll have actual inputs, because that kind of affected how the character played, right? Certain confirms were a little bit easier, possibly because you only had to hit 2 buttons versus doing like a DP motion. So it could be a whole different ball game, and he might not play the same way as Street Fighter 5 Ed did, but I'm sure we'll find out real quick from ending Walker. So
yeah. Well, I think the one thing that will change is that he won't have mash moves, just like Honda and Blanca, or Honda, Blanca, and Chun. They don't have the mash move; they have the quarter circle, right, for the legs. So, initially, like I wasn't a fan of that with Honda. Honestly, like at this point, I don't even care because I don't play him. But it was more like a legacy type thing.
Yeah, even Ed's DP, his Psycho Upper, the EX one, which was his invulnerable reversal, it was different than other DPs because it was balanced around how easy it was to do compared to a traditional DP motion. Like it was slower. So you could do
Yeah.
like unique option selects in 5 specifically to counter like it was what Ed, Falk, and Urian. I think those were the ones with the really delayed DPs. So
Yeah.
like it trickles all the way down to balance, basically how this character controls.
And what is Ed's DP motion in 5?
It was
2
3
punches?
punches.
Or
Yeah,
3
2 punches, and then EX was all 3.
Okay. So kind of like Zangief's Lariat at this time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Which-
it was just like that.
Which will be weird too, because like if you want that, let's say it is that input, you'll have to get rid of possibly DI or parry, like the quick input for those, if you want to have the easy EX upper. So.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. I don't know. I'm interested in like, I would like if it turns out like what Mike said, where he has kind of like classic inputs, like I would actually welcome that more personally. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm interested in like how he's gonna play with like drive rush and things like that, like how his moveset's gonna play.
So with Ed, it's a unique scenario too, where the character is pretty new, so they can redefine the character. They aren't boxed into like a specific archetype. Like with like Yun and Yang is a good example, right? Where like they can't implement those characters in a future Street Fighter game without them being busted. And if they try, then the characters just won't feel the same, I think. And so I think that's why they ended up with Jamie. But with Ed, he doesn't have the same legacy or the same longevity, so they may be able to get away with changing him more than like kind of like Rashid, right? Rashid's a little different, and no one's complaining about him, not being true to his roots.
Yeah. He's only got the one version that he has. Yeah,
they changed Poison a lot going into 5 from 4.
That's true. Like, yeah.
It could be a similar thing. Like she went from having a small whip with fireballs and zoning. I mean, I guess she still zoned in 5, but it was more whip based than it was fireball.
Yeah. In 4, I felt she was more like a Rekka character than anything.
Yeah.
It was very different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would even say Chun, like people like were really down on Chun at the start of 6 because she was so different than she was in 5. Like being able to hit Fierce twice in a row. That's an example. But once people realize that you couldn't just hit Fierce with her over and over again, they're like, a character's not the same. She sucks. And now she's top 3 in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's like that's one of the things that I just had to get used to, especially like when Honda came out in 5, right? Like there was a real big change in how you played in terms of like the install and like needing to do that in order to generate more damage and different things, and that was a big change for me. In this game, like it didn't bother me so much, but coming from 4 and then Honda 5 Honda coming out and being like, this is how he's supposed to be played, I was just like, nah, I don't want to play this guy.
Yeah, I get you. Have any of you all like had that happen before? Like it's like, so Mike, as an example, like if you played if Dudley came out in 6, like would you give him a shot, or has your style deviated since then?
Yeah, I'm not interested as much in that traditional. I mean, I'd probably give him a shot just for like nostalgia, and if he was different and cool. I mean, he was always cool, but like, I don't like. I like having better options in neutral now than I did back then. It was fine being all in on the one kind of thing, but you had to like really bring extra levels of neutral to Dudley to make him viable, and I don't want that struggle anymore.
You really had to condition people like to get those overheads, those meaty overheads in and stuff like that. Like you really had to condition people, but once he got going, like he was one of the coolest characters to watch in Third Strike and even in 4.
Yeah.
So I mean,
go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say like just coming from Dhalsim from 5 to 6, like the biggest departure for me was just the teleports. It's like, again, it was more of a accessibility thing, right? I'm probably thinking, in terms of like they wanted people to be able to teleport more consistently, so they just made it, forward and back and punches or kicks instead of the tiger knee motion. And again, like that was something where I was just like, man, I spent all this time in 5 like working on this and doing this instant air stuff, and like now you guys are like taking it away and making it easier. And like I don't know, it's weird because like I didn't mind it at all because like that's just how I view fighting games. It's just like, that's part of the learning processes, right? Like you want to get good with this character, you got to learn how to do this thing that they do.
Mhm.
And when they simplified it, I was kind of turned off about it at first, but now I'm just used to it at this point. And the trade off was like, again, it was something that you talked about with Ed's DP being slower, right? Like because of the easy input, like Sim's teleport isn't invincible anymore on
Because it's so
startup.
easy to do, right?
Yeah, so it's so easy to do now. Before in 5, like I remember it would piss people off that he would just be escaping constantly.
And in 5, it used to be a DP motion, right? DP motion plus 3 punches
Yeah,
or something.
exactly. Yep.
Um,
Yeah, the instant air one. It took me a while to get that down, but once you did, like, yeah, it felt so
You know
good
what?
to actually like, pull stuff off.
Another character that's changed pretty drastically that they seem to have a lot of creative freedom to do is Jury. Now I think about it, because Jury in 4, I don't think any of us played Jury in 4. I don't think anybody played Jury in 4.
No,
Realistically,
the
I
only
tried
Jerry
and
player,
it's
yeah.
Yeah, I tried and it's terrible holding on to the kicks and then
Yeah.
like still trying to hit punches. Like that didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's just my friend Neo. That was it. That was like the only Jury player I even knew.
Yep. And then they revamped her in 5, and
Yeah.
she was completely different. I did hear some complaints from jury players, from Street Fighter 4 jury players actually, about how she was too different in 5. But then a lot more people tried her out, I think, because she turned into kind of like a install Rekka character.
And just
Yeah,
to double
as
check,
opposed
in
to-
5, she kind of had stocks for the certain buttons, right? Similar
Yeah.
to like jamming Guilty Gear Xer or Double X.
Yeah, I would say
I don't
so.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was the big change, right? Because in 4 you had to hold things down, and then in 5 you just had to like do the motion, and then it would show that little icon, right? Like you have this one stored.
Yeah, it was I think it's an improvement because in 5, I didn't play her in 5, but I tinkered with her when she came out, and I think it was the same motion for install and use, which it's not in 6. So like
Oh,
you could not get necessarily like that fuha like up motion to
Yeah.
like pop them up in the air that you can in 6 if you were already fully stocked. Unless they changed that in a later, because like I said, I only played her when she initially came out. And they did change her quite a bit throughout the life of 5. But from what I remember, you had to do the same motion to get the whatever version of the move you wanted. And in 6, you just kind of get stocks, and then you can use it for whichever one you want, and you can always do the fuha motion to get the knockdown. And I think that's way better, much more freedom. But like I said, I wasn't a jury player in 5, so maybe they hate it. I don't know.
So just to verify, like on 5, it was Fuha first, and then it was a different move. So like you actually lost an option for a different option when you get that stock.
That is my understanding, unless they changed
Wow.
it from initial
that's how it
release.
was.
Yep, those QCF, and then yeah, if you didn't have the store, then the store would come out. But if you did have the store, then whatever strength button came out.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard that 6 jury is kind of a nice blend between 4 and 5 jury, and I don't really know if I'm qualified to answer to know
Yeah,
if that's true or not.
Yeah,
I have no clue.
oddly enough, as the jury player in the room, I'm not qualified either. Like, because I literally maybe spent 5 minutes with jury in 4. So yeah, the button thing, I was too new to the game to understand how I was going to do finger gymnastics and hold that button. But I would think that the amount of people that play her now versus then is a clear improvement. Yeah, there's going to be like those one-off people who just want it the old way, but
Yeah.
overall, the how much the character is played is way in the favor of 6 and 5. I'd argue there might even have been more in 6 than 5.
Yeah.
But it's probably pretty close.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that has to do with kind of like the game mechanics too, because it's like that low fireball and drive rush in is really strong. So it's
Yeah.
just like, I mean, I kind of hate that term, that whole skip neutral thing, but it's just like, that's what people think of when they think of jury, right? Like that, she's constantly in my face. Like I have to deal with that, and then, oh, she's coming in. Oh God, what am I gonna do right now?
Yeah, jury, especially against Dawson, she's kind of got some things she can throw out that catch float and just catch start up of buttons, or if you just happen to not be blocking from like just outside of low forward range, she can just clip you with stuff and knock you down and give you the business. But yeah.
It's funny you bring up catching a float, because in the last week I've played John, I've played you, and I played Scott this morning for like 50 games, and all three of you have figured out ways to deal with that. Like John kind of just had like a revelation watching was it Torameshi and Moke?
Yeah.
And seeing that Moke was just literally spamming like stand roundhouse, and he's like, "Hey, I want to play a set with you. I'm gonna go try out this shit." And like it was frustrating to no end, because like here I am like trying to jump out of the way, and like Chun's stand heavy kick is coming out, and I'm just like, this move is dumb. I was like, this is catching me all the time. And then like when I played you like the other day too, Mike, like I noticed that you were finding ways to deal with that, especially like in the corner to kind of keep me grounded. And then when I played Scott today, like it took me a little bit to kind of adjust to things, but Scott was kind of the same way too. Like he figured out ways to kind of keep me grounded and to keep me from doing that.
Yeah. I say this to my fellow Chun player Freezy in the chat, like with Moke, like all he does is he just walks up and hits stand roundhouse at point blank range, and in a traditional matchup you'd be like, that's suicide because it whiffs on crouchers, so why would you do that? But Dalsum is never ducking, and I like that was like the big realization on from watching that match. I'm like, oh, Dalsum has no reason to duck at that range. He wants to get away, so throwing out that roundhouse is actually pretty powerful, because then it turns into a frame trap too if he's standing.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Mike?
And you can cancel it into like something that's drive impact safe, right?
It's a frame trap into DI.
So Dalsum just has to hold the whole time. And then if you get hit
off it,
full combo. Yeah.
I was actually all playing against all three of you guys, especially after I haven't played in a bit, and kind of the way that my defense has changed. Like I feel like I've almost had to adapt that kind of style because of what you guys are doing, because like I can't just jump out of there. I have to be more grounded, and I have to make these decisions on the ground and be like, all right, well, I gotta, it's part of the fighting is like I gotta make a guess, right? And like, I mean, more often than not, like I was probably guessing wrong against all of you guys, but but that's part of the game. I was just like, oh, he's not gonna throw me. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, there was a stretch where you were guessing right on mine for like 2 or 3 games in a row, where every time I'd knock you down, I'd choose the wrong option, and I was like, all right, let me just break the cycle and like do the same option 3 times in a row.
Yeah, I do that until you dig in, right? You dig in when they're laughing. Yep, exactly. Because you sense that your opponent is adapting to your offense. So you're like, well, I will just not adapt my offense then. I'll just stay there and be stubborn, and then just we'll see how they react to it.
Yeah, but no, it's like I get it. And it can be frustrating as the person on offense when you're like, God damn it, I hit him with this, and he did it again. But then it's like, as the Dalsum, when you put yourself in their shoes, it's like, what else do you do? Like you have to do something, like you can block, but a lot of times that doesn't lead to much better situations either. So it's like, if you're gonna deal with it, you might as well risk something sometimes. But it's that character. I don't know how you guys do it when.
Yeah, I mean, when you don't have a reversal, when you don't have a reversal, you have to make those decisions. Like even Maynard has to do the same thing with Marissa. Like she's got armor moves, but it's just like there's ways around that too, and it's just like you're kind of stuck, in your own mind saying, well, what do I think that they're gonna do, and like hoping that you're picking the right answer, and if not, then let's do this again.
That is true, but to be fair, Marissa, when you do make that mistake, you eat 70%. So
yeah,
he kind of brings himself back into the fight real quick when he gets this opportunity. But Dalsum, it's like your opportunity is like, cool, I got away. So let's go back to you didn't even up the life. you you just got away. That's all, So definitely a little bit more of a struggle, I think. Marisa, obviously, Maynard and I have played Jury versus Marisa, and how terrible that match can be. So like I'm not going to sit here and try and say Marisa's got it easier, but like she definitely can close out a round easier than Dalsum, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think this is kind of interesting because we were talking about Ed earlier, and Aki came out a couple months back, and Rashid came out, and none of us really play those characters. By and large, like, how do you guys feel about your current character choice in Street Fighter 6? Do you feel like you would ever deviate from them?
Oh, that's a good question. I would go ahead, Maynard. We'll let Maynard go first.
Yeah. No, I do kind of want to swap.
Really?
One of the big things, like I feel like I've grown to where I want more tools into neutral. I do feel like Marisa is really weak in that area. I am getting a little bit better with my footsies. Like me and John played a few matches. I felt like I improved. I was able to effectively use it at a recent tournament, and that felt good. But I do feel like I am still lacking. If it gets to a point where we reset back into a 50-50 or back to a neutral to get into that situation where I have a hard knockdown and I could get some sort of snowball effect, it's just such a big hill to climb for me. I feel like I'm exhausting myself a lot in that area, and I do want better options. I want to be a little bit quicker. It would be nice to have walk speed. You guys talked on the last episode talking about walk speed. I'm like, damn, I want that.
Let me ask though, like, is there a specific, like, are you saying that you're having issues starting the snowball, or are you having issues continuing the snowball?
Starting the snowball.
Starting it.
Getting that hard knockdown. I do feel like right now in this situation, I feel like once I get that hard knockdown, then I could really put you in a mix and try to get a 50-50 situation and just eat your life bar. But Chun, Ken, and Luke, I just struggle. I can't get into a range that I feel good about and like force them to hit a button. There's times where it's like I'm trying to like step in, step out of that effective range that they have, but I just get to a point where I'm just blocking and I can't force them to whiff. I think I got to play it a little bit more patiently, but I mean, in the long term, I'm trying to find ways to conquer her weaknesses, but I do think it would be nice that I have room to grow, and I think it'd be cool to have someone with those tools, and then I could try that out and see how that works out. But
nice.
I totally understand that, like, Marisa's a great character. I'm not downplaying her at all. I do think she has a lot of opportunities to win, but I do want to try something else out. I wouldn't mind trying that out. Honestly, over December, I took a big break. I was actually thinking about trying Luke and Ken out. Those are the two characters that I was actually thinking about going back and trying. But
nice. I would honestly be. Yeah. I would be interested in how that goes for you, because like when it comes to this game, like I feel like you've really kind of taken to this game versus previous Street Fighter games, and like you've had much more success in this game than you have. I'm not gonna put that on Marisa or anybody. I think that's been you. Like I've seen like your growth as a player in terms of like the setups and stuff like that. Like you're almost like a sponge in a way. Like I see somebody post something and then it's just like a couple of days later you have it down, and I'm just like I was getting hit by stuff and I was just like, did you just learn this? Like why am I what is this setup now, right? And it's just like it's one of those things where like somebody will post like the tech from Twitter or something, and then like I'll see it in your gameplay like the next time I play you. So I'd be real interested to see like how if you play a better character and how that turns out.
Oh, thank you. That's really cool to hear.
Yeah.
How about you, Mike? Are you sticking with Jury, or is the honeymoon period over? Like, how are you feeling about her?
I keep finding new stuff with her, so I'm still having fun. But I play fighting games to be competitive, and if they make it to where Jury isn't competitive, then I won't play her. I'm not like I've never played the same character. I was gonna
say Mike's not a character loyalist. He's like I want to win.
Like winning is fun. Abe said it best. It is fun winning, but it's just like
set 3S.
and like right now I've had a good amount of success with Jury, and I feel like I keep getting better with her, and it's just like I'm ready to keep that going, barring any weird stuff. And Jury's like, there's an update coming. We all know this, probably shortly after Capcom Cup, if not like the day of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that could be anything. Like Maynard, you're saying you are going to explore Luke and Ken. Well, if there are two characters that may get hit with nerfs after this season, it could be those two characters. So like, I would say at this point, for anyone who's thinking about switching a character or pursuing something else, do whatever is going to help your skill set, not learning a new character. Like, so if playing Luke and playing Ken is going to help you fundamentally, do it. If you're just like, I want a better character, then that's not the reason to switch, because they may not be better characters after February.
Yep.
That's a good way to put it. So you know what, learn Zangief so you can learn how to be a grappler.
I mean, well, one thing that like playing Geef, because this is literally a thing that happened to me in 5, is I played season 1 Mika.
Yeah.
And then I was really good with season 1 Mika. I did what the character was good at.
Yeah.
And then when they took all those things away, I didn't know how to play the character anymore, because it's essentially a whole new character with how many changes they made to her.
Yeah.
And so I switched to Geef for a little bit. And one thing Geef taught me was like, there's no easy ins with Geef. You have to walk and block. You have to do your game over. You have to use the entire timer to try and get your game off as Geef. And I played him for a little while, played him for probably half of season 2. And in that time, I also dabbled with Balrog and stuff. But then when I switched back to Mika, I was able to apply that walk and block style a little bit more. And it made my Mika way better than it was in season 1, even with less options. So don't be afraid to try a character that's terrible now. But the more different characters you play with different play styles, it's just like adding a new tool into your skill set. So that's how I've always looked at playing characters. So
yeah,
I'm
glad you said that.
Applies too, though, right? Where like you like, don't learn Luke, JP, and Ken if you want top tier, because those characters are the biggest targets for nerfs. There's also characters that are probably the biggest targets for buffs, and so it might actually behoove you to like try Lily out, or try Jamie, who I think is also likely going to get a buff and possibly pushed over the edge. Because oftentimes with those like low tier characters, they just need one thing and suddenly they're busted. And like Ibuki was one of those in season 2 of Street Fighter 5. I remember that.
Laura,
yeah. Urian came out in season 1. Balrog, dude.
Balrog
season 2
went from having a charged upper to a DP upper. And then that changed the character and everything he could do. And he could do half your life bar in one combo. And
I didn't realize they changed to a DP motion for him.
Yeah.
Ibuki was exactly the same from season 1 to season 2. They just gave her, they made her jump a little bit more narrow. And then she just became the best character in season 2, in my opinion. At least top 5.
Oh, you know what? So, now that you're talking about changes, like it made me think about the sim changes in 5, and like in his V skill 2 became the charged fireball, right? And he took away the float, and like I didn't like it, but like I'm thinking now, like I probably should have learned how to play that sim, because then it would have kept me more grounded. Like I got so used to like jumping and floating constantly, and that's what I wanted for mobility, and it's just like when I tried out V skill 2, I was just like, I can't float anymore. This sucks. But that's sim of old. So it's like I probably should have learned how to use him, because like 6 is kind of a combination of all of that. Like he's got the float, he's got the arch fireball, so he's got the the bouncing off the walls kind of stuff. So I probably should have learned that.
Yeah, now he's essentially got everything from those V triggers all at once, right? Like
that's
give me the
nutshell.
Yeah, give me the flame. Give me the flame carpet back, and then we'll have more fun.
Oh God, that would be horrible.
All right, what about you, Joe?
What they take away is level 2. If they change his level 2 to flame carpet, then fine. That way we don't have to deal with that bullshit anymore.
No, I
Yeah.
can combo into level 2 though. I like that. I mean, I used to.
You can
I used
combo
to-
into
I-
flame carpet.
There you go.
Nah. Oh man, and I don't even know how that would work with burnout. Like, how would you even deal with that?
Ooh,
Bro,
yeah,
would
that
you
could
would
be
you
bad.
let it chip in burnout?
Does Sim have like a looping thing he can do in Burnout? Oh yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
he
got
has the
the-
crouching medium the arch fireball.
Yeah.
I haven't really implemented that in my game yet, but I really should, because like when people are in burnout, I'm kind of all over the place.
Yeah, you
that's-
usually run away when they're burned out, but you can go in.
Good
Yeah.
lord. No, not that with the flame carpet. Like, get out of here. You just do 40% chip in Burnout. Like,
That is
God.
something that's in my head too. Is I'm like, how the hell are they going to change this game? Because like a lot of it feels like a house of cards. Like
Yeah.
because all those suggestions you see on the internet about like, oh, make drive impact cost 2, or make drive rush
Yeah.
a punish counter state, and all this other stuff. And it's like those have like drastic repercussions.
Yeah, they do.
Throughout the game. And so I'm actually at the point where I'm like, maybe they can't touch it. And if they can't touch it,
Yeah.
does the game go stale? You know?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a real can of worms right there, because like, yeah, I've seen all kinds of wild things, and like people don't understand like the repercussions of like what they're asking for, and how that's gonna change like everything.
You know what I think would be a cool, and I haven't thought this through a lot, so I'm sure John will be able to poke huge holes in this.
Let's do it.
But what if low forward canceling off of drive rush, like, or into drive rush, if on block you didn't get the buff of the plus frames,
Ooh.
then it would make blocking a low forward into drive rush more detrimental, because you still have to do the jab or you eat an uppercut, but you do the jab, now you're not plus.
Yeah, that would just outright remove that entire meta. That's interesting. It would be kind of unintuitive in that, like, specifically low forwards, but there is precedence for that, in that like low forward DRC adds more scaling than crouch strong DRC. So
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
But
it could
even
work.
like, as a character who uses the hell out of low forward, I just think that it would kind of even the playing field a little bit more, and it would be more focused on like getting somebody to whiff punish, or to like, it's less about just doing it to earn a mix up and more about whiff punishing. So like, if you can, like, every character has a better move they could whiff punish with than low forward, right? But on hit, it does all the same things.
Yeah.
Oh, so you'd
He's just
still get
saying-
the frame
he's just-
advantage on hit?
Yeah. He's just saying like pressure wise,
On
like in
block
terms of
only.
like the blocks. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that it's just too easy to be like pressuring somebody in the corner, right? They pick a time where your block string ends and they do a low forward. And if it hits you, you eat a ton of damage, they're out of the corner. If you block it, they do drive rush jab, and you have to get a 50-50 of, am I going to get hit or be thrown into the corner? So it's too strong.
Would you consider that similar to like what they did in 4 with like the DP change, like the DP FADC being -5?
Oh,
Yeah,
Right?
it's kind of similar to that. Yeah.
Right? Because like that was free pressure before, right? And that was kind of dumb. It was just like, oh, he's got full bar, he can DP FADC, and chip me out.
yeah. I want to be very clear about like the miles difference between those two things. One of those is a 3-frame invincible move that was meterless,
Yeah.
and the other one is a low forward. So like,
Yeah.
Street Fighter 4 is way more fucked up than low forward DRC.
Yeah.
But it's the same concept as in.
But no,
like,
I agree. But it's
yeah.
like, it's in terms of the pressure, right? It's
Yeah.
like relieving the pressure and, you know, not making it as strong.
I just think the game, if they can do it without breaking the game, and they make it to where you go back to neutral more, because think about a lot of the characters who have drive rush, have like low forward drive rush, already win in the neutral, so they're not hurt going back to neutral. But the characters like Marisa, all these characters that don't have, you know, Lily, they all don't have low forwards that are cancelable, but they're also worse in neutral. So I think that balances the game in a way on its own, because now the low forward drive rush is not as strong. Therefore, the people who don't have that aren't getting beat up by it as often.
there's something that doesn't sit right with me about nerfing low forward in a Street Fighter game. It's kind of like how Akuma always has to be good. Like every Street Fighter game that I've seen, like low forward is always good, and when it's not good, then people say that it's not Street Fighter. Like I'll take Street Fighter 5 as an example, right? You couldn't. We used to not be able to confirm low forwards in that game, right? And so at that point, everyone was just swinging crush counter buttons, and everyone was like, "This isn't Street Fighter." Right?
Yeah.
And so eventually they lowered the input lag, and then Punk started like really showing that you could confirm low forward, and suddenly low forward became like a thing, and suddenly Street Fighter 5 was a footsies game again. And that's where I'm like, the more you depower low forwards, the less you actually make footsies powerful in a Street Fighter game in general. That is a very like wide ranging take though, and it doesn't like completely address the concern that you have, which is low forward DRC is pretty game defining right now.
Yeah. I think it's pretty good for. I mean, there are like loopholes for it, but I think to do this, you probably need a better drive reversal as well, because like as I'm thinking about this out loud, I'm realizing that would be really inadvertently a buff for Jury, because the characters who don't have low forward, most of them don't have reversals as well. So then
Yeah.
Jury's low forward drive rush strong still becomes really good on block even. So
Yeah,
that's true. It doesn't. I'll shoot a hole in my own argument there, but like I still think that you have to do something to change low forward drive rush into jab, because it's very, very strong. Maybe if they're only ever +1 and it's not a true throw mix up, but I don't know.
Yeah, you could make all jabs -3 on block, and then that,
I was about
that
to say
makes
that.
everything +1, right?
Yeah.
I like the theme of this conversation though. Like, Maynard, is there anything like universally in season 1 of Street Fighter 6 that you think is game defining in the same way that Mike brought up low forward DRC?
Like I was only going to talk about like low forward being really
that is okay,
very similar, because that's one of the reasons I wanted to do like Luke and Ken, low forward, being able to have the walk speed, and have those options available. Not having them kind of sucks. I'm only relying off a crouch medium punch. Now I'm also relying like walking around and doing standing medium punch, but the low forward game and the like, I don't know, my jokes about Marissa like buying her leg guards just so she's not getting beat up from the ground so much. But it's really similar. Also watching, I posted that light video recently about the light mix-ups, and it kind of just goes along with Thrasher's take on it. So I think that the lights, especially off of drive rush, are definitely really strong, and then mixing it up with the crouching forwards, like I can't think of anything else to really add, honestly.
They're strong, but like, do you think they need to be toned down, or do you think that they're taking over the game?
Maybe like just a little, just a little tone down would be really cool. I don't know how much we could do or how much it would change the game. I really dive deep on that, but
I do think so. Like, me and Mike are hella biased because we both benefit greatly from low forward DRC on block. Right?
Yeah.
But neither of you guys have that, and so like from your perspective, that's pretty valuable to me.
Even as Marissa, like I can't combo off of jabs, so I do want to take it away from everyone else. But once again, it's also me being biased. So
sure.
Yeah, I've always been susceptible to low forwards or just lows in general. So it's just like, I don't know. Like I can't. It's hard for me to like give a good opinion about whether I think it's too strong, because like I'm always getting hit by it. So it's like, like I don't know. I don't know how to. I don't really have a problem with it. Like, if I get hit by something like that, then I understand. But like, I can understand like gameplay wise, like it being a very dominating thing in for the majority of the cast.
Yeah, and again, when I think of a low forward being dominant in a Street Fighter game, those tend to be the best Street Fighter games to me. Third Strike is that way. 4 became that way. Ultra became that way rather. Like Ryu low forward DRC into a million damage, or sorry, FADC, or cross tech in that way as well. You know.
Yeah.
So like
So
I think I don't see how it makes low forwards bad. They're still good because you still get the same thing, right? The only difference is you don't get jab into throw. You can still frame trap, or at the very least, it makes that a mix up where there's risk on the other person because you could still do jab to beat them mashing throw, but you just can't do jab guaranteed throw mix up. Okay. And then on the hit, it's still the same exact move.
Yeah, then it turns into like, okay, so if we bring out the strongs instead, then that's DPable at that point. So it doesn't stunt the mind game, I think, which is probably that would be my main concern about it.
It's just not guaranteed, and I think that's the problem with it, is that your follow-up is guaranteed that you can do throw. Yeah, now especially on a character that doesn't have a DP, it's a guaranteed throw, not throw mix-up. Like, and it's literally a 50-50. Because if the person is wrong, they're either eating a combo or they're thrown in the corner. If Marisa is pressuring me, right, and I guess Marisa kind of, we'll say Dawson. Dawson is somehow, by the grace of God, he's got me in the corner. I low forward drive rush jab. He has to guess or be thrown in the corner. It's almost worth getting the hit just so that you don't get thrown in the corner.
Yeah,
that's happened for me. I'm like, damn it hit. I wanted the block because I wanted to do some crazy shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to kind of boil it down, it's like the way I see it is like Mike's talking about like kind of, lessening the pressure that you get from that, but keeping the reward, like the whiff punishing aspect, like you said. So like offensively, like if you get the low forward hit, you still get the DRC, and you get to do the combos that you're used to doing. It's just more if they block your low forward, then it's it's not as strong.
Yeah, and even on block, you still get a throw mix up. You're just risking somebody jabbing you out of it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't know. Like I'd really have to like delve into what I think could change because like I don't know. It's just I feel like John said, like I feel it's kind of like a house of cards, and like things are kind of tightly wound as they are, and I like I'd have to really kind of think about like, well, if we do this, what other things happen as a result. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I do want to revisit your question, John. Like, well, for you to answer it, well, I mean, I had to answer it too in terms of whether you're satisfied with your character or you're looking to change.
Yeah. Oh yeah, part of the reason why I even came up with that question is because I was thinking about this last night, where I was watching some Chun footage, and I was like, I don't really want to play any other character. I just don't. Like, all the other characters are really interesting to me, but none of them like fit the right. Like, I felt like I found my character, and I just don't feel the need to switch. Like, I can't think of a Street Fighter character that could come out from a previous game that I would want to switch. She just fits me really well, and I don't know. I haven't felt that way about a character in a while. It's like it just resonates on all like I'm firing on all cylinders. Like to the point where even if they nerf her, I might actually stick with her, and I think they will nerf her.
I was actually about to ask that too.
Yeah, I think they'll nerf her. Yeah. How about you, Benny?
I was gonna say it's funny. It's funny you say that because I kind of feel that way with Sim. Like especially like because I started playing Honda first in this game, and like yeah, I could get away with some real simple stuff, but as I got further and played better players, it was just like I've got to develop his game beyond like the headbutts and the butt slams and stuff like that, right? And I don't know, it's just like I think I said it a lot. It's like when I played him, I felt like I was really kind of like on autopilot and kind of playing brain dead, and I was just like it didn't feel right, and I was just like, yeah, I could win, but it was at the same time it was just like I didn't feel good like the way that I was playing. Like I didn't feel like it was beneficial for me as a player to play that way. And it's just like I mean, maybe it's a style thing or something, but it's just like I just didn't feel right playing him at all. And like when I play Sim, like everything's completely different. Like I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm still scratching the surface. Like I'm, every couple weeks there's something that I'm adding, and there's still stuff that I'm missing. Like I'm in one of the sim discords, and I see stuff that they post, and I'm like, man, I haven't even like, I don't even do that. Like, or like Mike was talking about, like the burnout thing. I don't do that at all. So like I've still got a lot of things that I can add to my game. So I don't really feel the need to necessarily play a different character. Although I did ask that in the Discord today, and it was more kind of like, I think it's just to get a different feel, or like a different type of character, like Mike was saying, in terms of, I mean, obviously everybody's going to be a departure from Sim, right? So it was, for me, it was like Ryu, Cammy, or Geef. And those are like kind of the three that I was looking at. And one thing I did notice, because I did try to play some hub matches with Ryu and Cammy, is like I cannot low forward fireball to save myself. I was DPing all over the place. I was just like, yo, what is going on?
It kind of comes down to whether or not we feel limited by our character choice, and it feels like, Maynard, you're kind of the odd man out here, where you do feel limited by Marissa, huh?
Yeah. I
But
feel like
the rest of us were like, there's no ceiling. Like we haven't hit the ceiling yet. But sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's fine. You actually covered it. I'm tapping the ceiling right now. I kind of have my fingertips touching it.
Yeah.
So like I'm not pushing on it yet, but definitely I'm feeling it. It's there.
Yeah, Mike's just like, if Jerry sucks, who's next?
No, I'll play Cammy or I'll play somebody else. I don't care.
That's the point I wanted to bring up too, is that there's a lot of OGs and a lot of people that have come back to Street Fighter 6 from 4, and they don't know patch culture like the 5 players do. Like being like the ability to switch between characters, because they completely skull fucked your character between seasons. It's because like a lot of people quit the game when that happens. Scott. But I like, so like being ready for those nerfs. Like I had season 1 Chun-Li in Street Fighter 5. They destroyed her, and she wasn't good until like 6 years later. And so it's stuff like that where it's like being able to pick yourself back up from that after they completely dumpster your character is, we got a little bit of that in 4, but realistically, like it didn't happen, on a calendar basis like how it works here.
Yeah. As you see, I always found that I was always a little bit envious of you being able to play all those different characters. Because now that I think about it, in 5, you played Chun, you played Karen, you played Ibuki at one point, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
think that's
Khalid.
Much it. Yeah, I mean, I had those characters I dicked around with too. Yeah. Like I had a Ken, but not. But like traditionally for maining, I was doing Chun, Karen, and Ibuki.
Yeah,
but that's 3 mains in one game, dude.
Yeah, yeah. I think what you mentioned to me back then was like, it was more about kind of understanding like the combo routes and like the pathways to get there, and not so much the characters themselves. So it's just like you had a fundamental understanding of like, this is what I need to do, like whether it was like crouch strong or whatever, and I can apply this to this character as well.
Yeah, pretty much every character I played had a confirmable low forward. Even Ibuki, when it wasn't cancelable, but you could confirm it into V-trigger, and that was kind of like the theme of. Which is why I'm like, I don't know about low forward DRC being nerfed, Mike. That's literally my playstyle.
See, I can't even do that with Sim in a way, because like when I was trying to play Cammy earlier, I was trying to do dive kicks, and you know what I was doing? I was doing teleport inputs. I was like jumping and pressing like back and punches or back and kicks, and I was just like, how come my freaking cannon spike's not coming out, or the whatever the the dive kick is? I was like, how come this isn't coming out? And it's just like, I don't know, man. I have to learn a whole nother skill set, muscle memory personally.
I mean, maybe while you're switching characters, it's time to try a different controller layout too. Maybe that could be your opportunity.
Yeah, you play hitbox.
I don't know. I could try doing that again, but I don't know. With a different character, maybe. I already tried doing that with Sim, and I can't do that. So
yeah,
that's actually not a bad idea. I do have a hitbox sitting around.
How about we
play a
game? We play a game here. Let's say they do dumpster your character. What character do you play in season 2? Just knowing what we know now, like knowing, like just pretending that the balance for the characters doesn't really change, but they nerf only your character. Like who would you pick?
Well, I would say, what exactly are they nerfing with my character? That's what I want to know. Like, what are they taking away?
Your favorite thing? Just like
they took
Doesn't have
away
level-
float.
They take
Float's
a
gone.
float? Oh shit!
yeah, they take away float. So you cannot play that character. That's the end state. So
They just
who
put
would
Sim
you
in a
play instead?
wheelchair, Professor
Yeah.
X style. Like here you go. Like oh damn. Oh man, who I would
Professor
play
X style.
instead? Oh my god.
You
Come
play
to me
Ed?
last. No. Actually, no. I would probably play Ed because like I am interested in Ed just from playing him in 5. So
Legacy standpoint, yeah.
yeah, I'd probably play him because like I don't know, I'm still not personally sold on Honda, so I probably wouldn't go back to him. So I'd probably play Ed at this point unless he's just complete trash. But
We still got to see his moveset and see what
Yeah.
they do to him.
yeah, what about you, Maynard? If they nerf Marissa, who you played?
I already have like said it with the Ken and Luke, but let's just say Ken and Luke also got nerfed because they are the toppest of tiers.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd go back to Jury at this point, just because it is a character I had history with in the closed betas. Getting to play her for the 2 betas that they released. I remember Mike Thrasher talking trash, like, why did you get off of her? Like,
Yeah.
she's so good. So, maybe that's the time and opportunity. And honestly, I did play her a little bit in October, and that actually did unlock something with me with Marissa. And that's where I started doing a lot more crouch, medium punch, drive rush, confirms, and that did help me with my tool set there. Like, I know it's not crouch, medium punch for, no, actually it is for Jury, but it did help me think a little bit more about that situation.
Stupid move, that thing right here.
Yeah, her little presentation, I guess. But yeah, I think that'd probably be the option for me. It'd be cool to actually have a fireball and being able to really pressure people in the corner and just do some crazy wacky mix-ups from there.
Yeah, I mean, you have a distinct knowledge of set play from Marissa, right? So you'd be able to do that. Plus, and then Jury's neutral will give you that what you were missing, right?
Yeah.
What you were looking for in Luke and Ken. So
Yeah,
you're just not Luke and Ken. How about you, Mike? If they dumpstered Jury, and you play a bunch of different characters, so I'm sure this is probably going to be an easier answer. But who would you flock to, or alternatively, like who do you think would be the most of your stable of characters, like would be good for a buff even like?
So if I'd play whichever one of the characters that I already play that already is the best. And if for some reason Kimberly or Manon didn't get buffed either, I'd probably explore Akuma because Lord knows that's going to be broken.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, I forgot about Akuma.
Drive rush demon read.
Yeah.
That would be so annoying.
That would be like the first time I've gone back to a character. Like,
oh man, I'm just thinking about that. Yeah, I'm thinking like Fireball, Drive Rush, Raging Demon as they jump over it.
Yeah. Or just like Drive Rush freeze the screen. Oh, did they whiff a low forward? I'm punching in the demon. I'm going half screening whiff punishing. Jeez.
Oh man.
Okay. Yeah, I don't even really know who I'd go with. It might actually be Jury as well. I'm having a lot of fun to keep playing her as a secondary right now. I think she fits a little bit of my style. I want a real fireball though.
Yeah, I feel that, but it's like the timing at which you set up that one has to be really good.
Yeah,
and if you do, then it's a great fireball. But if you're trying to like zone with it, it's not so much.
Yeah, it's a good one to go in behind, but like not full screen.
That doesn't go full screen, so like essentially you're just wasting a stock.
Yeah.
Or you're like you can throw it out there to like keep them from drive rushing at you though, right? Just to be like, hey, no, there's a stop sign. But
the EX is really what that's for. Is like because
okay.
it's going to give you the knockdown and it goes full screen. So if you throw it from any kind of range, you can get 3 stocks off of that. You can follow it in. You can kind of set up her whole game off of the EX Fireball. If they're trying to get away from it, she gets the world. But it's kind of like if you guess a jump and you've tried to go for like a second Fuha stock, you're just going to eat that jump in. So that is really like, I want you to do something right now. I'm going to throw EX Fireball.
That's kind of how I feel when I throw a regular fireball with Chun. Is I'm like, all right, I'm taking control of the screen right now, and you have to. I want to see how you deal with it.
Yeah.
I was thinking, Benny, you posted in the Discord recently about like good vibes post. I was wondering if you could go through like what that was on our show today. Maybe we could even do that ourselves on this call.
Yeah, so typically, like what I've done in the past in the Discord, I was calling it Grandmaster Good Vibes. Chat, I'm all about the positivity, and it's like, you know, it's that whole thing of like kind of thinking of like two positive things and then a negative thing that you're working on, like a bad habit. So I was asking people to kind of name two things they've implemented into their game lately that they think has helped them improve, and like what has it helped them improve. And then the other thing was, what's the bad habit that you're working to correct, and why is it a bad habit? And so for me, like the two things that I've been doing that I think that have helped me is one, being more active on defense. I mean, that's kind of like what your terminology was when you described it. You're a lot more active on defense, and it's almost like you guys were talking about earlier. Like as Sim, like I don't have a reversal. My teleport's not invincible anymore. And if I'm in the corner or if I'm being pressured, like I have to make a decision. Otherwise, you know, I can just sit here and watch my drive gauge disappear or whatever. But like, you know, when I get knocked down, I got to make that decision and kind of just hope that I'm making the right one. And I think for me, like it's led to more like scramble situations, and then, but I also think it's helped me in those scramble situations. Like I don't feel like the only, I guess, downside to it is like the game's more fast paced, but it's like I'm making it more fast paced instead of kind of slowing it down. And I feel like that's helping me overall in terms of that. And like also I'm perfect parrying a lot more than I was before. The main thing is I gotta kind of work on better punishes with that. Like I really got to use his down back fierce or even his sweep in those situations, because I get Oki off of stuff like that instead of like my natural instinct is to do like a crouch medium punch into something, and that's not very it's not very good damage wise. I mean, throw is always good, but it's just like sometimes you don't want to just do throw. And then the other thing is like the other good thing was I've been burning drive to do more damage, and then to close out rounds. So like I'm recognizing like when I need to do that. There's still definitely lapses like when I played people. Like I was watching like a clip when I played Scott this morning, and there was a situation where I could have killed if I like DRC canceled one more thing and I had more than enough bar, but I didn't, and I had to do one more thing to kill him. But I've been doing that a lot more, and like I feel like overall when it comes to playing, whether it's Mike or you or Scott or Big Mac, Christian, those guys, like the top players that I've seen, like I feel like I'm holding my own a lot more than I was in the past. So I think that's kind of a combination of the both of those things. And then the one bad habit I have is I think I'm relying on parry way too much right now and kind of mashing jab too much. And like you, all three of you, like the ones that I mentioned, you, Mike, and Scott have all kind of picked up on that and were making me pay for it big time. And I really had to kind of like make adjustments and kind of slow down.
Getcha. Yeah. Punishing parries, I think, is something that it's kind of like we do it, but like I don't think anyone's like really sat down and broken down like how to actually punish a parry with a throw, like whether it's hold versus tap parry, or the DI thing that Mike showed me a couple months back, to beat the recovery frames of parry. And I don't know, there's a lot there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. When main interventions walk speed, that's all I ever think about is like you guys like making me whiff, and I'm like standing there and I see the little blue aura, and then I'm just like, ah, shit, I'm getting thrown. And sure enough, that's exactly what's coming, and I'm just like, that damn walk speed.
That's why throw loops need to be in the game too. You need to punish parry hard,
Yeah.
I can see that. So what about you, Mike? Two things you've implemented into your game lately that have helped you improve, and then a bad habit that you're working to correct.
So lately, I've been implementing more patience, or I've been trying to. Sometimes you get autopilot, but like I feel like I found the most success when I really wait, because a lot of people don't don't wait, and so sometimes it's like in rank you'll die, and you'll realize they didn't do any mix up. They just happened to hit a button when I hit the button. So like if I don't do anything, then a lot of times people don't know what to do. They'll try and walk up and throw you. They'll just jump or start whiffing buttons, and then it's like cool. And then Jon actually showed me the benefits of using crouch strong more actively. So I've implemented that a lot as well. And the combination of those two things really is where the huge change has been. But one thing I'm trying to work on, because there's certain characters in this game that blow you up for it, is as soon as you block a button, and you reversal like a low forward, like DJ eats that for breakfast. Like he's gonna sway, you're gonna eat, you're just gonna die for it. Sammy was messing me up with Luke because he would do jab into heavy knuckle, and he would like charge it, and I would just eat that into a level 3 raw, and I was getting blown up for it. So not like sometimes just being okay with you've blocked, now you get to go back to neutral and you take you back away, and trusting that you're going to be able to just whiff punish their next thing or get in on your own terms, and not constantly try and take back your turn the moment that somebody is negative is something that I've been trying to work on. And that is a habit.
Last time we played, I saw like you did do a lot of reversal low forwards, but then towards the end of the set, you started doing like block 2 jabs, jump backwards, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. And it's like mixing it up off of that too, because sometimes it's like, especially because our match was Chun Jury, obviously, and you can do walk forward strong really aggressively, and it's hard to deal with. But the way you beat that is by reversing a low forward and just committing to a drive rush. And that's why I've been trying to mix that up more. And then a lot of times I'll do jump back strong, because if you're continuing to walk forward, you'll eat just the strong damage, and I still get away. So it works for me. But yeah, just kind of mixing up your options, I guess, in neutral, just not building a pattern, because in this game especially, I mean, every game, obviously, if somebody knows what you're going to do, it's bad, but in this game, it's really bad. So safe but unpredictable is the kind of the name of the game for what I'm going for.
Nice. No, I like that you mentioned those particular moves, like the Luke heavy punch or the sway, because like that, and like, you know, Marissa's the charge punch, those moves, like they remind me of like dive kicks, or like even like Jury's dive kick, right? Like they're the kind of things that kind of delay occupying horizontal space, so it kind of like plays against your natural tendency to want to do something. Like I get caught by that all the time. It's just like, oh, they backed off a bit, I can hit this button, and then I get whiff punish, and I'm just like, oh man, I just got set up. And it's the same thing, like, you know, you're just like, you see Jury jump, and you're just like, is she doing a normal, or is she gonna do the dive kick? And it's just like, if you do the dive kick, you know, your AA timing's thrown off, everything's messed up. Same thing with those moves that you mentioned. Like if he does the charge punch and he doesn't release it right away, maybe you press something, and guess what? Now you're getting hit.
Yeah, one of the biggest ways of applying offense in this game is through spacing traps. And everybody figures out a block string that puts them at a certain range, and then they're ready to whiff punish whatever it is. So like on DJ, sometimes it's also good to block something, then walk forward a little bit and low forward, because then you'll catch the sway. You just kind of change your spot. Don't be in that exact spot that they have been labbing for the past, 6 months or whatever. You just change slightly where you're at. And sometimes it's just a few frames of walking forward has now screwed up that perfect spacing that they worked so hard for in training mode.
Yeah, there's a couple things that I've seen with Sim where I think it's after a knockdown. Like if you do like a light fireball and then like a medium slide, like it spaces you perfectly for like his back medium kick. And that's something that I was looking at and I was just like, man, that's really good. But it's just like it's gonna take me a bit to like, add that to my game.
Yeah.
What were you saying, John?
I had a couple points. So that to beat low forward, like say block 2 jabs and then someone reversal low forwards you. With Marissa, you could probably do like a jab and then cancel into the Superman punch. Superman punch will go over low forward and you'll fuck them up for it. And even if it makes contact, you still have armor, and then you're plus too. So like it's just I think canceling a Superman punch might be the way with Marissa. She's on the screen right now. It made me think about it.
All right, man.
Yeah, go ahead, Manny.
So about you.
Yeah, so I think one of the big things that I'm happy about, and this is just me overall fighting games, being able to absorb that information and being able to use it immediately. Back when I used to play DOA, I used to get tips, and I used to like not really grasp or get it. And it took me like maybe like another month or another tournament series before I'm like being able to apply it. Just this month in January, Honorable gave me a setup at the tournament, and I was able to use it almost immediately on the match that I got to play. And it was a great feeling. Honorable was watching. He was popping off. So Honorable is in chat. So thanks for that. Another one was I had a sparring match with Jon, and Jon gave me like an idea to use my habits and turn it into a strength. One of the big things I do constantly, a big weak point for me is I constantly hit jab on block strain, just to like look for potential spacing up or an opportunity, a timing opportunity that you may have left open. And one of the things he was telling me about was sometimes I should use standing medium punch, 5 medium punch, which goes into her target combo, goes into her bread and butter. And the reason being is that sometimes that gap is so open that I could use it as a counter hit opportunity, because it is a fast button for what she's doing. And depending on the spacing or the time that they're doing, I could confirm off of it, because a single medium punch standing is safe. The confirming it into the target combo is what gives me that bread and butter, and that I think helped me out a bunch. A lot of my matches have been really good because of that. We had a casuals on last week, and I felt really good about my matches playing Honorable, playing Freezy. So that helped out a bunch.
It's kind of the same principle as the spacing trap that Mike was talking about earlier, where everybody gets into a specific zone and gets their spacing trap set up, and then they hit their button preemptively because that's their trap. And Marissa can do the fadeaway strong, and then that'll just stuff that autopilot button oftentimes. So turn their space trap against them, Maynard.
The second thing that I feel really good about was I used to parry too frequently, especially on Oki situations, just try to get a perfect parry and getting punished by getting thrown a lot, especially like in corner, because I don't have the DP. So being able to just block it out, do delay teching, not being like throw looped in the corner, I feel like I've done a lot better on that. Once again, that tournament that I played at, I got a lot of close matches with Freezy, being that he used to abuse his throw loops, or not throw loops, but throw pressure, and he just being very predictable against him. I took away those opportunities and made my matches a lot closer because of that, which comes into my negative. I'm still choking frequently. I'm still dropping combos or not getting the proper confirm. It's honestly, it might be in time for another gauntlet. I might have to throw one in and money match a whole bunch of people to just get my nerves out. Just iron it out, honestly. Both my tournament match and my warm-ups with Freezy, I dropped winning combos to just beat the match out. Maybe I might not have won the set, but you never know at that point, because taking that match might have changed the momentum, might have made him shake a little bit more being under that pressure. So I need to close out better. I need to really honestly just iron it out.
That's a big thing too, because it's just like when you drop that combo, it's like it's not even just like the actual damage to the other character that you're missing out on. It's like you have to think about that mentally, like in that time, like right then, right in that moment, and it's just like, oh shit, that could have been the game, and then now you got to collect yourself, and this is all within a matter of seconds or whatnot, and you're like, now I got to collect myself and hopefully still close this out, and then if you end up losing, like you said you did, then then it's something that you just dwell on, and you're just like, man, what happens if I hit this combo,
The way I try to pick myself up after when that happens, because it's gonna happen, like you're gonna drop a combo on a stage or whatever, is execution is the easiest thing to practice because you don't need another
Yep.
opponent to do it. You don't need to learn a matchup. You don't need to have to examine a tendency or anything like that. It's literally just grind it out on your own.
Yeah. Yeah, you've told me that since 5 even. It was just like, yeah, it was like, oh, you dropped a combo. I was like, well, you could practice that. It's just like, did you make the right decision at that time?
Mhm.
And it's just like, that's kind of how I look at it now too. It's just like, did I make the right decision? Okay, then I just didn't capitalize on it, and then that's where my fault is, right? So at least my mindset was right.
Yep. Execution, like as much as like everyone debates about how hard fighting games are and execution, whether execution is getting easier or harder or whatever, anything like that, it's still something that you can practice by yourself. It's a one player thing. And
Yeah,
so
and like, I
you
mean,
have limitless time to do that. Well, not limitless. You know what I mean? Like you can do that on your own.
Yep.
yeah. That, and like, regardless of how easy your games are getting, like people are still dropping combos even since 5. Everybody was like, "Oh, this is easy." It was like people were still dropping combos in that. Like, it's pressure situations and mentality, or just your mental that's there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what about you, John?
Things that I've been working on, and then things that bad habits I've got, right?
One bad habit.
One bad habit. I got a lot of bad habits.
Tell me all the bad habits, John.
some of them are driven by our sets, Mike. One of the things that I've been working on is like I've looked into like why I've like the matches that I've been losing really badly at, and like I can think of at least 4 matches where I've lost to a jump, realistically. And the jump is less so of like, I'm not trying to diminish that, but what it shows is my fireball game is ass. It's less so like my everyone always says, oh, it's because your anti-airs are ass. But what it's really like, I can anti-air, like I know how to do the DP motion and everything. But what's really happening is I'm watching the fireball game too much and I'm committing to the fireball game too much. So
Right.
I've been trying to like throw less fireballs. And vary my rhythm a little bit with them. And that has given me more opportunities to practice my anti-airs because like it's scary being like, hey, Cammy has 4 different ways to go in and you have to be able to adapt to each of those. Or Jury has a dive kick, so you have to kind of guess once she leaves the ground, or but the fireball kind of forces that guess on my terms oftentimes.
Yeah.
So I realized that where I'm like, okay, I have specific walking patterns that are giving people a good read on when to jump because like because they're watching my charge or whatever. Like Chun is unique in that she has a charge fireball, so it's a little bit more telegraphed than a quarter circle fireball. So I've been really diving deep into that one lately.
Gotcha.
The second thing I've been working on is the difference in one frame on my safe jumps. You'll see a lot of Chuns like Chun will do like a super or any kind of combo, and then she'll do a safe jump in the corner, right? The juggle into the double fierce that you guys have seen a lot. And oftentimes you'll see Chun follow up with jumping medium kick or down medium kick, and then she'll do the toe tapping thing and then jump or like bounce on you a couple times. There is a 1 frame timing to make that consistent, and it's dependent on how you juggle. And I've been working on that a little bit more, and it's been helping me evolve my safe jump game, which helps my offense in the corner. So then, getting that more consistently and then changing my safe jump offensive rotation has helped me out against a lot of the locals who are familiar already with how my safe jumps work. So I've just added some new tools to that toolbox in that situation.
Nice.
A bad habit I have, and I'm still working on it, is I still burn meter too much. Specifically, like I will DRC if like I used to be like, if I can land the low forward, it's worth the DRC, even if it puts me at one drive bar. But I'm starting to feel like that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
And it would be better to do more meterless combos, or I'll do like jab into OD legs. And every time I do jab into OD legs, I'm like, why? Because OD legs doesn't, you just burn 2 bars and you don't really get anything for it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of instances like that. I'm not cashing out my meter properly.
Yeah. Like those two of the things that you said, like that's actually a problem that I've been working on too. Is because like, I mean, I'm sure you saw it on my set. It's like I EX Fireball all the time, and that's how I get a knockdown. But I don't really get anything off of that. Like I think there's one setup I get, but I gotta burn like I gotta drive rush in and then do like a whiff slide into another slide or something like that. It's really awkward, but I think that's the only thing I get off of that, and I don't think it's worth it. Versus doing like the cashing out into like the blast would be better. So and then the other thing you mentioned was the fireball thing, and it's just like it's kind of a combination of what you and Mike said. Is just like I need to work on the spacing part and then doing nothing. Like I've started to do that, and like like Mike said, it forces people into because people don't want to stand still, right? So it's just like, oh, why is Dawson walking back and forth? It's like because this is a bad place to throw a fireball right now. And what do? They jump, and then it's just like you said, like I'm confident in my anti-airs. So like I don't ever feel like that's the problem when it comes to the fireball game. It's the spacing and like getting hit by like throwing it at a bad spot.
Yeah. One thing about your meter usage that kind of plays into a different thing you were talking about is you're saying your fireball game is ass, but also it's pretty connected to the meter use, as in I know as a player that when you spent down to 2 bars or less, you're more likely to throw fireballs because you want to get that bar back. And so I'm more likely to jump because of that in those situations. So if you're at full bar, I'm more likely to walk and parry because I don't necessarily know the timing that you want to throw a fireball. But I know damn well every character with a fireball wants to throw it when they're low on drive bar.
That's true.
Yeah. That's a good point. There's a psychology side to this, and the fact that the information is available to both of us, visible to both of us, allows us to you play an additional mind game with the UI.
Yeah.
Oh man, like the fact that you even said that, Mike, it's making me like question like every game that I've ever played against Jeff, because Jeff is like I feel like he's psychic and he's always jumps in on me at the wrong times, right? Like, and I'm just like, really, you jump there, and it's just like. I just never thought about like in terms of like the meter situation or the drive meter situation. It was just like maybe he's jumping because like at this point I'm not going to spend anything else and I want to get more.
The drive bar tells you a lot about what somebody's going to do. Like for instance, we'll go with Ken's a lot of times, and this is this is not my crazy insight, but it's something I noticed after hearing Angry Bird talk about it. Is that Ken's they like to do more. Jinrai mix-ups when they're low on bar because they don't want to spend on drive rush. So they're more likely to do Jinrai. Therefore, DI is a better option because it also beats if they do drive rush. Chances are they're not going to just do drive rush throw. Also, they're more likely to do Jinrai kicks because they want to get that bar back. So you go into low forward range, you do a DI. And you hope for the best because it's still a guess at the end of the day. But you just that drive bar tells you what people are more likely to do because you know what's good if you know the character enough, you know what's good when you're low versus when you're not low. So
it informs neutral. Like when we play, right? If you're under 3 bars, I am not as scared of low forward for that reason because you're gonna get a store and that sucks. But it's like I don't think you're gonna DRC, so I can dance in the low forward range a little bit more freely, I think. Same with Ken or anybody with a low forward DRC, honestly.
I don't know about that.
You don't dance, you fly.
One thing as a jury player, I will tell you have to still watch for it only because I don't need DRC to do a safe move off of it. I need 3 stocks or 2 stocks. And I can do something into it. But like if I have stocks and low bar, I still may like low forward may still be a threat is what I'm saying. But for like 90% of the cast that doesn't have a safe move they can do. Yeah, it's. But then DI is also a better option in that situation, because if I do the spin kicks, that's GG.
Yep. No, I agree. Earlier we brought up I forget who brought it up, but as far as like walking, I think Mike, you brought it up, like walking forward and kind of doing nothing or doing less, right?
Mhm.
And I was talking with Alex Myers about this in Street Fighter 5, and he gave me like a really, because the Cali guys, they always talk about rhythm. I don't know if you guys have noticed that when you talk with them, footsies with them, but like they speak a lot about like rhythm and internal rhythm, and then playing at somebody else's speed and whatnot. And it took me a long time to really understand like what rhythm meant in this context. And a lot of it is like when you say walk and block, right? Everyone always says walk and block, just walk and block, and it'll be fine. But what it actually does is it changes the timing for buttons that everybody else uses. So if you walk forward and you do nothing, and people lose their shit. Like if you walk forward into their low forward range, and they're like, people will immediately low forward you, and then you can that's data that you can be like, oh, I now know that if I walk forward a specific distance, they're gonna stick low forward out because they're just autopiloting. And at that point, like you've thrown off their rhythm because they're like, I did low forward and I'm doing my thing, and now this guy's walking forward and blocking, and I'm not blocking anything, so now my rhythm is thrown off. Because people expect this like this turn-based thing. Everyone talks about their turn in a fighting game. They talk about like, oh, okay, so he's plus, I mash here, I take the turn back, and then we just do this back and forth rhythm game. It turns it into like rock paper scissors constantly. But the cool thing about RPS, the limiting thing about RPS is that you know when someone's gonna throw. You go 1, 2, 3, shoot, right? But in a fighting game, you have the benefit of time. So if you make them guess when you're going to do something, when you're going to throw scissors, that's another layer of mix up on top of that. And I think the changing rhythm is like the key part of that, as far as like walking forward and doing nothing. And then suddenly whatever, flow chart they were running on, like it might throw that off because your spacing is different all of a sudden. And then now you can get a beat on their rhythm and then choose to throw it off deliberately.
Yeah. That is something that is huge to do in like a grand finals set where you may have 6 games that can make the difference, because that can steal you one game just solely off of throwing them off your timing. But yeah, like that's why I said that's something huge I'm trying to work on, because I think that's the difference. Because like when you see pros play, you're like, they're doing the same things I'm doing. They're just, it's working differently. And I think those little nuances is why it's working differently. I think their data gathering rate is a lot higher, so they can see, they built a profile for certain players, and they can just breeze through it as soon as they are able to put you into that profile. But for everyone else, it's like we're all doing we're playing checkers while they're playing chess, basically.
Yeah. For me, like that's always been the kind of the mark of the better players, is like how quickly do they adjust to like what the opponent's doing. Is like how, because that's ultimately what we're all doing, right? Is we're all gathering data, and it's just like, how can I use this to my advantage? And it's just like the better players are, seeing your habits, seeing your patterns, and recognizing them faster and taking advantage of them faster than your regular Joe Schmo over here that's just like, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing over and over.
That's the benefit of the walk and block too, is because you're not worried about what you're going to do because you've already committed to blocking. You are much more attentive on what they're doing, and that's the data gathering side of it, and then lets you tune to their rhythm. Do nothing. That's how you win. You don't hit them. You let them hit themselves.
It's also like there's ways to gather information, right? And that is the least costly way to gather information. So walk and block. You can learn that their low forward is slightly faster than yours, and you guys hit it at the same time, but you've paid a hefty price to learn that. Or you can walk up and block, and that without paying for anything. Yeah.
And like every now and then, like I think you brought up Jeff, right? Jeff is an example of somebody who will vary his rhythm pretty regularly. He will go completely defensive and then go completely offensive and then back to completely defensive. And a lot of times it's just about being like, okay, well, if this person's gonna, constantly force me into RPS, right? You can treat it like gambling at a casino where you're like, all right, well, I'll bet low when I'm in a really shitty position and I'm likely going to lose RPS, and I'll bet high when I think they're taking a huge risk. And statistically, you will come out ahead. But the cool thing is that if they're playing at the same rhythm the whole time, you never have to guess when the option's coming. You just have to know, so you can make informed decisions and have time to like plan that out, I guess, because it's happening at a steady clip constantly. I see that with so many players locally in our scene. I don't want to call anybody out, but like they will just go. So the answer, like the RPS is always, and so I never have to wonder, are they going to attack me? I just know that they will. So then I can formulate a game plan around that.
Yeah.
SNK says, I swear you guys calculate too much. That's the way I feel, right?
Yeah, that's how I play. I just do what I want.
I know you do what you want. You're one of those guys. Sorry, I'm calling you out. He's gonna do what he wants, and it's gonna be our RPS, and we hedge our bets.
Oh man, it's fun though.
That is one of the benefits to your new defensive style, though, Benny, is that now, like, even though like it's still happening at the same rhythm constantly, you've added so many more dimensions to it that now I have to guess more. I'm statistically less likely to guess right nowadays because you've got those situations online.
Then, if you add that variation of timing later on, it's just going to add even more to the defense. And it's like, okay, not only do I not know when he's going to do, but I don't know what he's going to do either. So,
well, I mean, if you looked at like the progression, like I brought this up plenty of times. It's like my progression against Jon is kind of like, that's like my measuring stick. It's just like at launch, like couldn't touch him. Then like I don't know what I'd have to go look back at the podcast episode, and I was like, hey, I got a game in this 20 game set, right? And then I've got 5 games in this 20 game set, and then yesterday, like the other day we were in a lobby, and I think it was like 1-2, 1-2, 0-2, 1-2, and I'm just like, okay, like we're getting there. It's just like, but that's my literal progression in the game is like, as I've improved, like that's been my measuring stick. Is just like, how many games can I get off Jon this time? Because before it was like nothing, and he was walking through me. Now it's like, now he has like he said, he has to guess, and like it's part of that's my defensive evolution that's helped out.
I agree. I don't like being the measuring stick, but I agree.
Hey, it's gotta be somebody.
Cool.
But I don't know. It's weird because like before, like when I first started playing fighting games, the measuring stick was like kind of like the lower level players, and it's like, who's the person that I want to go beyond? And now the measuring stick is like, okay, he's one of the top players. How much, when do I get to that point to where I beat them?
Do you think that has to do with your age, Benny? Like you've become like, because a lot of times when people see players that are better than they are, or more skilled than they are at the game, like they are, you're not afraid to lose at that point. But
I'm never afraid to lose.
Fair. But like, is that not lack of fear of losing? Like, is that something that has come with time and age, or were you like that in 4 as well?
No, I feel like I've always kind of been like that. Like I've never been afraid to lose, and it's just like, for me, it's all learning opportunities, especially losing of all things, right? Like it's cool to like win and whatever, but like I don't learn as much kind of like walking through people. Like it's it's a confidence booster or whatever. Hey, I could beat this guy 10-2, but I was like, did I really learn anything beating this guy? Or what have I learned, losing to Jeff like 30 games, when he was playing more regularly, or what, playing you and like losing a whole bunch of games. Like, yeah, I lost the games, but it's just like I've gained a lot more knowledge in terms of like what I need to work on.
Agree. Well, cool. I think this has been a productive conversation for going into an episode with absolutely no plan. So I think we talked a lot about, game balance, new characters, and now just like core player strategy shit. So this is super cool. Do you guys have? I think I've asked both of you guys about footsies already, so I'll curb that one. But do y'all have any shout outs or anything on the way out here?
I mean, before we do shout outs, I do want to talk about this current week.
Oh, yeah.
We are having the Gaming Zone Secret Lab. It'll be the 5th edition. It's on Saturday. We do have to start a little bit late, so our bracket starts at 6:30. We will have 6 p.m. warm-ups, so we'll have like the consoles out and
that's right.
available for everyone to play like at 6 p.m. Don't come a little bit earlier, just a heads up, just because there is a birthday party. So I will be there right after the birthday party, cleaning up and helping setting up the tournament. So we should be able to start on time at 6:30 p.m. So if you're interested, come sign up. It's once again, the link is start.gg/TGZ Secret Labs. So that way you can sign up early and come out and play.
Thank you to Maynard for being our resident TO here in Phoenix. Cool. But
yeah, I mean, as far as shout outs, I just want to say like one of the people that I'm impressed and I like to watch grow is Freezy. Freezy's been really good. He's teaching me a few things. Honestly, like I actually take him home on Friday casuals just to make sure he could come out and play and play, help improve the local. I just take him home. This is legal guardian for just
to
a
his
few
home.
moments.
You say take it to his home, not your
That's
home,
what I said.
right?
No, yeah, his home.
You said I take him home. Those are your words. I take him home.
I get it. Take him to his house. That's so funny. Anywho. But yeah, have him come out and play and help level up the scene. Like this kid is insane just because he's learning so many characters now. Just this last Friday, he was playing DJ, one of his first characters, but he was still doing some insane matches and just.
He's playing DJ now. What the?
Maybe I've exposed him. I'm sorry if I exposed your most recent character in strats, but yeah, he's crazy. I'm impressed. This next generation is going to be insane.
Cheers.
Nice.
How about you, Mike?
How about you, Mike?
Same ones always. Shout out to the wife because I'll get yelled at if I don't. Then shout out to the whole Arizona scene and everybody that shows up to locals. It's getting a little harder to do that. I live pretty far from my local, but yeah, the people who always bring the setups. Shout out to you. Shout out to Carlos and Rudy. Those guys bring in setups all the time. Yeah, shout out to you guys for having us on for another fantastic episode. 70. This is episode 70, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think this might be my 7th episode. I think I'm in 10% of the absolute episodes. Yeah, so thanks for having me on again. It's fun.
Cheers. Yeah. All right. Well, this has been the Absolute Guard Podcast, episode 70 with Jon, Benny, Maynard, and Mike. You can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Spiral Series, YouTube at youtube.com/Spiral Series, and on Apple Podcasts and Spotify under Absolute Guard. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Night, guys.
Good night.